All right, let's get it. Defense of El Mayo Zambada rules out repatriation of his defendant to Mexico. Now, y'all remember he was telling the Mexican government, oh, yeah, hey, you don't hear me? I'm here. They took me illegally. You come and get me. Come on. Why? Because his godson snatched him up, snatched up the untouchable, the boss of all bosses, El Mero Mero. His godson invited him to a sit down, a powwow, snatched him up, threw him in a plane, and flew him over international borders. Brought him to the United States and turned him over to the DEA, the FBI, the ABCDEFG. His mentality is, hey, I was brought here illegally. Mexican government says, oh, the United States don't tell us nothing about nothing, which I'm starting to think is bullshit. Remember, we were thinking, oh, maybe the U.S. just ain't telling them nothing. But since all of this tariff talk and all of this talk of Scheinbaum and Trompito and everybody hugging and you know what I'm saying, fondling each other, it makes me think Mexico knew that shit was going to happen all along. They just shut their ass up. Huh? Monos con los ojos
Mono
tapados.
con los ojos tapados.
That's my new theory. My theory is that they knew, they just didn't care. Why? Because they got to kiss some ass or shit's going to go bad. So his mentality was, all right, they took me illegally. Mexico, it's up to you. I'm calling on you to do something right now. It's up to you to repatriatize me, to come get me from the United States and rip me out of their cold, clammy vulture hands and take me back to Mexico. They took me illegally. If you don't, it's going to be a problem. Right? He said that shit. Guess what? That shit didn't work. Hit the like button if you have yet to do so. That shit didn't work. He's still in jail. He's still in America. And that shit didn't work. Period. He thought he was going to be able to talk hard, talk loud in a letter. And they were going to give him what he wanted. And he said, get the fuck out of here. They're like, who do you think you talking to? They told Mayo, go get your
now go home and get your fucking shine box.
The defense of El Mayo Zambada rules out repatriation of his defendant to Mexico. The USA feds were 100% involved in Mayo's abduction. I don't doubt that for a second. I don't either, but they didn't say nothing. They said, we don't know nothing. I don't know what happened. We don't know nothing. Zambada's lawyer revealed that even with a good criminal defense, the case against Zambada knows little likelihood that he could be acquitted. That ain't happening. Little likelihood. As plea negotiations progress, the defense of Ismael Zambada Garcia, known as El Mayo, is now focused on removing the termination penalty from the table. We've known that from the beginning. His lawyer has said that from the beginning. Is now focused on removing the termination penalty from the table so their client can plead guilty to a few of the 17 charges against him. Therefore, they have ruled out returning their client to Mexico. Zambada's attorney revealed to Milenio that even with a strong criminal defense, the case against El Mayo shows little likelihood of acquitting him of the charges against him. The co-founder of the Sinaloa Cartel is accused of organized crime, money laundering, and firearms possession, as well as brocane and fetty-wap trafficking. Therefore, they have put aside any effort beyond the documents submitted to the Mexican consulate in order for their client's repatriation. Adding a set of syllables there. Therefore, they have put aside any efforts beyond the documents submitted to the Mexican consulate. The shit where he was telling them, you guys better hurry up, make your move now. Come and get me, Mexico. You see America snatch me, come and get me. Therefore, they have put aside any efforts beyond the documents submitted to the Mexican consulate in New York for their client's repatriation. U.S. evidence against El Mayo. According to the source, previous U.S. Supreme Court criteria established that Washington has the right to keep in its custody and prosecute any person regardless of the means by which they came into its possession. We get to prosecute you no matter where we snatched you from. If we snatched you up, don't you worry about it. Just worry about what we're charging you with. That's what we're talking about here. Furthermore, among the evidence that the U.S. Attorney's Office is beginning to produce are hundreds of intercepted calls and messages, as well as several rug seizures and hundreds of statements from potential witnesses who could testify in the event of a trial against the Mexican national. So that means they he ain't been as untouchable as you think he is if they got tapes of him. And, but we'll see. Well, maybe this is part of the deal. Something that he turned in, something somebody else turned in. Who knows? Frank Perez, and Mayo's attorney, is an expert negotiator in the criminal arena. He has reported other criminals in obtaining reduced sentences, particularly from Los Zetas Cartel. But he also represented Vicente Zambada Niebla, Zambada Garcia's son, in his plea agreement and subsequent collaboration, a.k.a. snitching, y'all. So it's not lost on you, when you do your picking and choosing of who's a snitch and who's not. And Mayo could reach an agreement with the USA. Agreement, what would an agreement mean? What's an agreement? It means we cooperated, right? Sounds like cooperation to me. The U.S. Attorney's Office announced that it is in negotiations with Ismael Zambada Garcia, known as El Mayo, to avoid a trial and obtain a plea deal from the Mexican, while the termination penalty remains on the table and the defendant's defense is seeking to avoid it. Both parties have exchanged certain evidentiary materials and continue to discuss a potential resolution to shorten the trial while the capital case is prosecuted and the government's analysis of potential classified evidence is pending, reads a letter filed by district attorneys in New York. On the other hand, the prosecution requested a change for Zambada Garcia's next hearing, which was approved by Judge Brian Cogan. The hearing was rescheduled for April 22nd to June 16th due to a conflict of availability between El Mayo's defense and the U.S. authorities. El Mayo's defense is going to be, on a mountain somewhere talking to Mencho about his defense that's going to be next. Is this an L? Did Mayo take an L, or was this L inevitable? That Mexico was going to ignore his yelling, his fussing, and say, nah, we don't have to come get you, ¿pa qué? ¿Ya pa qué? Ya lo cagaste, you got caught.
Yo vivo tranquila con la pena. Cállate, hijo,
what we going to come repatriate you for? But he sounded like he was making threats. Evidently, he's not as important to them as he thought he was. As some of y'all thought he was. As the commenters, not the live chat, as the commenters thought he was. Because never in my time on this platform have I seen people react the way they did to the truth. That dude got snatched up. Y'all thought he was a robot, super futuristic gangster. Nah, just a human being. And every dog has his day. I don't know if it's an L. This sounds like this was on the schedule. Why? Because you took a shot in the dark trying to yell at Mexico and tell them, hey, come get me. They're like, I don't know that we have to. I don't really with you like that no more. You got yourself caught. So it doesn't feel like a L. It feels like he threw a shot in the dark and that shit fell short. And the lawyers are like, back to our regularly scheduled program. And our regularly scheduled program was, we have to figure out how to keep the termination off the table. And that's what they're on now. They know that he's never going to see the light of day, but how can they get the termination off the table is the question. And Mayo's 70. He should just let him take his ass out. Fuck being in jail till you're not able to do for yourself. That's more of a punishment if you ask me. Ain't it? If he really wanted to be the gangster that everybody thought he was, he'd be like, your plea deals, fuck your American laws, bring on the firing squad. I got nothing to say to you, right? I made one mistake in my whole reign, and that was ending up here. So, do what you gotta do. He should have done the Tupac. Your Honor, you haven't looked me in my eyes once since we've been in this trial. So I'm convinced you are not here for justice. So I'm no longer in your hands. Give me whatever sentence you got to give me, because I am now in God's hands. That's what Mayo should have done, but he didn't. He said, first, let me see if I can strong arm my country to just get me back. And if I can't, then I'll figure out some kind of deal somewhere along the line. We'll see.
No, mommy's wake.
Fuck out of here. But to me, this was not an L, nor was it a W for Mayo. This was him just realizing that he ain't got the juice he thought he had, if you ask me.